next session. I had the opportunity to have 3 companies that are not what I consider like the young gun startups. They've been around. They are leaders in this world of digital health. And I really wanted to bring them here to be able to kind of share with you their strategies of remaining leaders and how they're kind of keeping ahead of the game. And I think this is the perfect conference to do this at. So I'm going to start by introducing you to our first presenter, Robert Flippo. He's the CEO of MobileHelp.
Thank you. Hello? Thank you, and I appreciate everybody's time. I know it's really late in the week and frankly late in the day. They have a lot of coffee here in the convention center, so it tends to keep people awake, but I'll try and keep it a little bit energetic to further that boost. I am the CEO of a company called MobileHelp. We design, manufacture, and distribute personal emergency response systems primarily for the senior market with a focus on mobility as the name would imply. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about innovation today and sort of how we see it as a company. And we're going to start with what really smart people at Inc. and Forbes and Oracle say are critical components of being innovative. And there's some key things. They all say you need workforce diversity. There's some simple things you need to be able to do, like outperform and out-innovate your competition, which seem fairly obvious, but are obviously key to innovation. You need to listen to your customers. And again, there's a general consensus that there's a number of factors that are critical in being successful at innovation. And it seems fairly common sense. One of the things that I've picked up on those is concept of thinking small. So Business Insider had an article on innovation, and they talked about size mattering, but in a surprising way. So MobileHelp was not even a company in 2006 and didn't have a product until 2010, really, when we started selling. So we were a small company, and this premise says that the smaller the company is, the more likely they are to act on their ideas, and according to this report. And the general idea is that with fewer resources, you don't have as much bureaucracy. So there's no guarantee that with 3 people you don't have bureaucracy. It's just less likely to happen because you're so busy you can't bother with bureaucracy. So if we look at the MobileHelp innovation story, it's really very much a sort of David and Goliath story. I love this book. I think it relates a lot to what we've done. And in our world, Philips Lifeline is the leader in personal emergency response systems, and were considered our Goliath. And they had a lot of perceived strengths. And this was particularly true as we were raising funds. And a lot of people were happy to point out that Philips is huge. They have tons of money. They have seemingly endless resources. They basically have more of everything than you could possibly have, even if we give you our money as an investment. And they've been in this business for 20 years. So how can you possibly teach them how to do anything that they haven't already done? They had deep healthcare relationships that they developed over a very long period of time. You can't possibly beat them. A lot of potential investors just assume that. But can we? So as the David in this story, we had a few stones at our disposal. So we were small. As I said, we were thinking small because there was only a couple of us. And what that allowed us to do was basically be ignored by not only the big guys, but the medium guys and even some of the small guys. They had no interest in paying attention to what we were doing. So we were able to figure things out almost under the radar without anybody really bothering us. It also allowed us to quickly adapt to those changes, and they really didn't see us coming and just assumed we were going to fail, like, frankly, a lot of startups do fail. But being small, it allowed us to be agile. So the market was and really is changing, and I think it's changing in our business a lot because of what we did and what we introduced. So that we had to make quick decisions. We couldn't spend a lot of time on committees and planning resources, and having come from a really large company, I understand how things can slow down. And if we saw something, we just went after it. We totally listened to our customers as we built our products, and improved on our products. And we also had no preconceived ideas of how things should work. So outside of the founder, none of the principals were in this business. We were in other technology areas, web hosting, consumer electronics. So we didn't bring to the table 20 years of baggage on how things should be done. We did them based on how we thought they should be done with current technology standards. We did have to get a little bit lucky, and I think when we look at innovation and companies who are successful at innovating, we all like to pretend at the end that we were really smart and figured everything out, but frankly, there has to be a little bit of luck involved in every success. So I'm going to run through a couple. I think every good startup has this first one. You have to run out of money at least once. I'm not real sure how many times we ran out, but it was more than twice, I'm certain. But we kept making progress. We kept proving what we were doing was going to work, and we were able to get through those hurdles. In 2011, for people in the technology world, there was a very large flood in Thailand. It happens about once every couple of 100 years and happened while we were in need of product. And like a lot of technology companies, components are built there, and we found that the plastic components that houses our equipment were manufactured in a research park in Thailand that ended up overnight under 10 feet of water. So they kicked everybody out of the park and said, you're not allowed to come in. And 3 weeks later, they let divers in because it was still flooded to retrieve our steel tools. And we were lucky enough that they weren't too terribly damaged to be reconstructed. And the bottom line is we had equipment arrive here in the US literally the day that we ran out of equipment to ship to our customers. So it looked like nothing ever happened, but I can believe me, there was a little bit of panic mode going on in the behind the scenes at the company. The other thing is that Big Goliath that we talked about didn't launch their product. There was a concern that they were going to come in right in the middle of our own introduction, and they didn't. So it gave us the freedom to operate for a period of time with some new technology that allowed seniors to, frankly, leave their house for the first time with the same protections that a normal medical alarm would give them. So if we look at our history, there's a few key things. There were some game changers that we introduced. The first one for technologists probably doesn't seem like a big deal, but medical alarm systems didn't work outside of your house before we launched our product in 2010. They worked about 200 feet from a box inside your home. And if you wanted to go for a walk down the street or to visit your kids in California, you were kind of out of luck. So we introduced mobility. It was a game changer, and people liked it. They wanted to leave their house. They wanted to be active, and it worked well. In 2013, we took a lot of the technology that was implemented with our mobile solution and introduced an all-cellular solution that no longer requires any wires. So the in-home station's wireless, the mobile component is wireless, and utilizes cellular instead of wired systems. And this year at CES, we've announced a product called Mobile Vitals that further extends our product from being a purely reactive, wait until somebody has an accident and presses a button, to a more proactive tool that will allow seniors to manage their health conditions by being able to collect biometric data through our cellular solutions. Along the way, there were also incremental innovations that were required to keep things fresh. So in 2011, we used our mobile solution for people who didn't have phone lines. The phone line abandonment is just as high or increasing in the senior market as it is in every other market. So there was a need for a solution that didn't need phone lines at all. We introduced a second generation of our mobile device, knowing that the 2G networks were going to sunset at some point. And we also registered our products with the FDA and had the first registered mobile PERS product on the market. Once we introduced a cellular connection in the home, we were able to add functionality such as medication reminders and activity tracking that continued to move down a spectrum from reactive to proactive. And along the way, there were business relationships that were developed to underpin the innovations that we've accomplished. So we're done, right? We get to take a nap and have a beer and, and rest. But innovation is not like that. I think innovation is like being one of the painters of the Golden Gate Bridge. So you paint and paint and paint and paint, and you get to the end, and you have just about enough time to have a high five and a beer before you have to go to the other side and start again. Innovation is like that. We have to continue to stay on top. So we are building on a platform of innovation that's going to continue to provide additional services for our customers. And I kind of want to go full circle back to should retail and medical get hitched. And while we sell a medical product, we primarily sell direct to consumer almost exclusively on a private pay basis. I see sometimes where innovations don't get launched because there's no reimbursement code, and people are afraid that they can't get products launched, or in many cases can't get funding to develop certain products. I believe if you build products that have the right value proposition and they're cost effective, people will pay, and we've proven that with our current products, and we'll continue to prove that as we go forward. So hopefully reimbursement won't be a hindrance to innovation. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me up here or see me at the booth out on the show. Thank you again.
Welcome, Terry Duesterhoeft. I love saying that. Did I do it right? Okay, awesome, to the stage. He is the CEO and president of A&D Medical. Oh, you have your own. There's the change.
Thank you, Jill. And as Jill said, I'm Terry Duesterhoeft. I'm the president and CEO of A&D Medical. And it's fun to follow Rob. Rob and I have actually had a chance to collaborate a couple of different times now in the last 5 years or so. But I had to find a way to put this slide in here. I've been at this long enough to have at least used it one other time, probably a couple other times, but for those of you that know that, it's talking about really what we aspire is always pushing the envelope. You know, that now is 35-year-old technology, I guess. You know, A&D was a startup at one point, and now has grown to be a mid-size, multi-hundred-million-dollar company, global, multi-industry, and really founded as a startup by Japanese expats in Silicon Valley working in the silicon industry back in the early days, and really is about precision measurement. And so I want to talk a little bit about product development, innovation, and some of the challenges we face and how we address them. So if you think about, most people know A&D as a provider of biometric devices, medical grade, blood pressure monitors, weight scales, pedometers, et cetera. And that is what we do. We probably are the second largest manufacturer of blood pressure monitors in the world. But most of that is sold actually through different channels to consumers. So we have a big consumer footprint, but most people know us as a medical company because of our work in acute care and hospitals, remote patient monitoring. But so this company that is primarily a device company now has to face the challenges of growing, competing in a new world, and getting closer to consumers as the medical and healthcare industry changes, and really as the patient becomes kind of the center of the universe. So this is kind of our aspirational statement. This is what guides us. And if you look at this, you know, we started out as a blood pressure monitor manufacturer. And we, of course, still do that. And we provide those for home health care, for personal wellness, for acute care monitoring, and for remote patient post-acute monitoring. So we were really one of the early pioneers of telemedicine. And so we started out at the very front left side of this page with building the devices, then connecting those devices to partners, hubs, and systems. And now, in the last year, we've launched our own platform, basically, that looks something like this. So the challenges we face going forward are, one, how to avoid commoditization in our core products, in our core devices, how to develop the business models and determine where we really should fit in this, and the partnerships. It's really all about partnerships. And the third thing is, how can we move fast enough when we support such a broad range of products? So, this is really what we're showing and talking about here at CES, which is really the front end. Mobile devices, mobile apps, storage in the cloud, the ability to share data, et cetera. But as you can see from the previous slide, there's a lot of work ahead of us. So how do we approach that? And I've worked in both big company like General Electric and a little startup. And obviously the ideal way to do it is to be focused, small team, driving toward a singular goal. And but then as you grow, you can't just grow out from that. So you're just a giant team, all working together in such a fashion. And I've seen that over the last 20 years or so, be put together in a lot of different ways. And so the trick for us is how to keep this and act like a bunch of startups. That's really the goal. And I've seen that put into practice in very, very effective situations in all the way from $100 billion companies to small startups. And this is really what drives us. But in real terms, what does that really mean? There's, being a mid-sized company, we really face, some headwinds and some tailwinds. The good things are we have customers, we have channels, we have revenue, we're not out raising money. And from those customers, if we listen, we can get feedback from them, voice of customer, and we have mature processes and experience and people that know the markets and know the technology. However, there's bad guys too. We have many competing product priorities. We've got business models, revenue to protect, mature processes and experience that on one side are good, but also put blinders on and can often limit you. And you're often too distant from the people that actually use your devices, and that slows decision making. So how do you fix that? Our philosophy is multifold, but first and foremost to isolate teams together to execute on a very focused end result. We did that when we launched Wellness Connected a year ago at CES, and we do that across our business, both in the medical side, and we also have other businesses. But the key there is, once you do that, is to bring the product people, the marketing people, the engineers, the designers, close to customers. Get them out with the users that actually use the devices, get them into in with the clinicians that influence it, and then give them the empowerment to be decisive and to prioritize. And then I think the other very important thing to keep it up is to develop a cadence. And by that I mean a product rhythm, so that the whole organization knows that every year, for example, you're going to come out with a new product, a new release on a single day. For example, when I was at GE, we did for 8 years, we came out with, on the same day, a new product introduction, and it had a huge impact on the market. And we're taking a similar approach with what we do here at A&D. So this is just one example. A year ago, we launched our BLE family. We introduced the Wellness Connected platform, new mobile app. This year, we are doing a global intro, so we're starting to expand it geographically into Europe, into Asia. We're adding new devices, we're enhancing the app, and we're introducing for the first time back-end services. And the other thing now, the important part of this is, we're already working on what we're going to release next year, and starting to put together the plans for 2017. So that rhythm, everybody in the organization, from the engineers and marketing people that are getting out close to users, talking to physicians, they're getting the ideas that are going to flow into what we do next year. Thank you. Right on time.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. Next up is Rob Mento. He's the CEO of Mira Fitness, and which is a spinoff from Omron, correct? Excellent. So welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I feel fortunate to call Terry and Robert because I feel like a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is consistent, and you're going to hear a similar message from all three of us. So as Jill mentioned, she stole my thunder a bit, but a lot of you in the audience are probably wondering, what is Mira Fitness? So I'm hopeful that at least some of you have seen our product launch and visited our booth out on the convention floor. But I'm also hopeful that through my conversation with you today, through the lens of innovation, you'll learn more about us, and I think that I'll be able to do that. At least I hope. It's been a long show. So Omron Corporation is a Kyoto-based multinational organization with a specialization in automation, manufacturing, and sensing technologies. They have a rich history of innovation. They've launched many of firsts across the globe and in various verticals. The first electronic ticket gate, one of the first manufacturers of ATMs. They also use that sensing technology in a number of other verticals. So healthcare would be one. This is actually one of the earliest blood pressure gauges from the early 1960s. And they've continued that innovation throughout the healthcare space, moving into more recent times, connected technology to help you monitor your health and wellness. Now, similar to how Omron Healthcare and Omron Corporation has gone into a number of different verticals, Omron Healthcare has expanded their product reach. So this is the pedometer that Omron sells. It is the gold standard. If you talk to others in fitness and wearables, they will tell you that the Omron pedometer is the gold standard for step counting. It is the most accurate product out there. So unless you've been under a rock for the last few years, you know that there's this thing called wearables. And technically, they really started to come onto the scene in 2010. Omron has been a dominant player in that space through the sales of their pedometers. But as we all know, wearables have had a significant climb over the recent years. And obviously that had an impact on Omron's pedometers. Now, fortunately for me, and fortunately for Omron, we had some very important and influential people within the organization that saw this coming. So Randy Kellogg, who some of you, and I'm sure many of you know in the audience, the Chief Operating Officer of the Omron Healthcare unit here in the US, saw this coming. And he started to talk to our customers and started to identify what the problems were with the pedometers and with the product, with the market in general. And they were hearing from our customers that in the wearable space, people didn't understand the benefit. They didn't understand how it could match their lifestyle or their sense of style, and really there was nothing for them. Our core customer for pedometers at Omron are women aged 25 to 55. And this is Rachel. She's actually one of our user study participants. At this point is an important stopping point to tell you that our product is a wearable for women. The other part, that's the first takeaway that I would tell you, is that as you develop products, focus is incredibly important. And that is what enabled us to develop the current product for Mira. So we have focused on women to identify problems that they feel that exist in the market for wearables and for their fitness experience. So historically, the product development process at Omron has been a fairly linear one. You do some market research, you develop a detailed product specification, you put it through the rigorous manufacturing development cycles that is a hallmark of the quality of the Omron products, and then you launch. So again, a highly linear process. We take a different approach, the wash, rinse, and repeat approach at Mira. Users are at the center of everything we do, and user-centered design is not new to industry, but I wanted to highlight how we're going about it. Instead of just starting with the spec or an idea of what the product could be, we talk to our customers to understand their overall problem. What is the problem that they're trying to solve? Through that, our team iterates and comes up with ideas. We develop a number of hypothesis-driven concepts and prototypes. We then put those back in front of some of the very same users that gave us feedback and new users to help see if the concepts we've come up with really resonate with them and are the things that they want to use to help them with their fitness and wellness. Out of that research comes more prototypes, and you see I've particularly chosen paintbrushes here because the tip gets more and more fine as we move on with the product and the concepts. We test those again, all the way up through launch. And as I mentioned, we launched here at CES. We're going to be shipping later this month. So the most critical point I would make is that, again, we come back here at the end, and we're getting feedback from our customers as we go. We expect to use this research, again, to feed our product today as we roll out new features, and then also as we roll out new accessories and new products. A key point that I would make here is that we talk about wearables at Mira as a complete experience. We're at CES, so there's a natural focus on hardware. But to deliver a great experience, what we heard from our customers was that it has to be a seamless blend of hardware, software, and content. Now, the challenge when you don't have a product or you don't have a platform is how do you test those things individually? So this is my second point to you. You can do a lot of different fidelities in testing, low fidelity and high fidelity, and it does not have to be expensive. I'm going to show you a few of those right now. To start, just to understand how people think about fitness, these are 4 mood boards that we put in front of our user study participants. These are physical objects that relate to health and wellness and fitness to really help them start a conversation and tell us how they think about their overall wellness and fitness plans. This is the starting point to get our research. And now I've broken these next few slides up into hardware, software, and content, so the first 2 here are hardware. There's a lot of great technology out there on that floor that you can use in your product development process. Through 3D modeling and other prototyping processes, we were able to put forward physical objects that our users could actually hold and feel and look at texture and color and content and understand how it would fit in with their life and how they might wear it. This is further down in the process. In the lower right screen, I'm actually wearing the bracelet on my arm right now, but further in the lower right screen here, there's some plastic models, 3D models of our actual product. So we're further down now, and we were able to show users what the product would look like and give them these color bars to help us decide what the product should look like. So giving them textures and colors, again, to feel and have in their hands for very low cost. What is lower fidelity than handwriting and a pen and paper? So one of the things we heard was that our customers really wanted to understand how their activities worked from day to day and how they could better track their activities. But we didn't really know what they wanted to track. So we used these beat logs to identify the things that they were tracking for their health and wellness. Again, a low fidelity monitoring tool. Again, with the software, we increase the fidelity as we go. So you've got these mock-ups in the background that show you exactly how the screen might look for tracking your activity, and then put it into some low-cost platforms that could be used to illustrate what screens might look like on a digital device. Again, very low cost, very easy to do, very quick to iterate on. This is my favorite. So we didn't have a content platform. What's one of the biggest content platforms in the world? Text messaging. we developed a system by which we could send content to our users to test, to identify if the content really resonated with them in tone, in voice, in overall content, and had a series of codes that they could write back to help us identify whether this was resonating with them or not. Out of all this research came our design principles. And this is the third point. We try to keep it simple and make sure that every product feature that we have in the Mira product and the Mira team follow these principles. And simplicity is, of course, important. Making it personal, so making sure that suggestions that you make to our users matter to them, and making it motivational. And this drives everything we do with the product and everything we are doing with our company. This slide, I feel like, really echoes what the previous two speakers said. So why did we decide to choose Mira as a new company as opposed to a new product? Number one, market proximity. I mentioned that Omron is a Japanese company. We wanted to sell this product to customers here in the US, so we're here in the US. We're a US-based operation, and our team members are all from the US. We also wanted focus, speed, and agility. We wanted to be able to iterate rapidly and quickly. And most importantly, we wanted to build a brand and a culture that resonated with our overall product and with the offering we were trying to deliver. We wanted to make sure that our people live the brand. Of course, we wanted to also make sure we stood by Omron's quality standards and we get the benefit of their IP. So what is Mira Fitness? We're a health and fitness technology focused on delivering personal fitness experiences and helping people to improve their lives. We want to help people achieve the goals that matter to them. That's our first goal and mission. In addition, we want to set the gold standard for what it is to be a corporate innovator. And that's who we are. So again, please come by the booth, say hello. My name's Rob Demento. Feel free to email me at rob@mymirafit.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions.